Good afternoon, everybody. This is Joanne Lingerie, and you're listening to another episode of Matured Musicians. I have with us today Jeff Crookall. Hi, Jeff. Thanks for
I,
coming and joining us. I'm going to give a shout out to my sponsor, Luscious Smart Studio, owned and operated by Chad Quist. He's in Edgewood, Washington, where his studio is located. And he started out with drummers and guitarists recording them and kind of moved into a lot of different things. And he's been recording my music. And I also have Jeff, who has his own studio. So we'll be talking about his as well. Anyway, with that being said, it's a very creative and collaborative environment over there. It's really relaxing, and I enjoy doing the recordings there because of it. So if you have any needs at all, you can find him on Facebook under either Luscious Moss Studio or Chad Quist in Edgewood, Washington. So give him a try. He's a great producer. And with that, we'll start the interview. Jeff, I understand that you started out with, of all things, the harmonica. Is that correct? How old were you?
I must have been 6 or 7.
Oh my gosh!
I think
How
I.
did you get into that?
My dad had one lying around. He didn't really play it, but I picked it up, liked it, and yeah, just started playing along with music. And
Ah,
so it's certainly always just been a part of my musical thing. Yeah,
ah. So did you do anything with it in school when you were going to school, or
it wasn't really a call for it. I did the school band with trumpet for 3 or 4 years. Um, but yeah, never harmonica until I started uh, playing with friends much older, and
yeah?
do a new cover or something, and obviously we needed a harmonica.
What was your favorite music at the time? What were you trying to play on your harmonica?
Um, well, when I first discovered Neil Young, I certainly tried to. I think I learned Harvest inside and out, could play that note for note, and Dylan was there as an influence for sure. As a young kid, I was just certainly just making noise on it.
Well, we my brother and I, we get harmonicas. I can remember at least one Christmas, and I can't remember, but I think they were metal. We both got harmonica in our stocking, and I don't think I ever did much with it. I looked at it. My brother did, but I didn't. Even later on, he went to play. He went off to play steel, not steel guitar, but slide guitar.
Oh,
And it took me a while and a few other instruments to get to that point. But how did you develop your skills over time on the harmonica?
just playing along with music. Yeah, just trying to match what I was hearing.
What is
I
the
never.
key? What is the key to playing it? I mean, I pick it up. I have no ear for where I'm
Well,
at on it.
the key, so to speak, to playing it is
Yeah,
making sure you have the right key for the song you're trying to play along with.
yeah.
That
Now
makes
that's something new. I never heard of that before. Uh, is that what's his name? Kelly. I can't think of his name, but he's over at Oxford and he often plays with Jeff. Van Camp, Kelly Van Camp is a harmonica player as well. And he started grabbing different harmonicas for different keys that we were playing in. And
right.
that was the first I ever knew that there were different harmonicas.
Yeah, they come in pretty much any key you want. You can find, even D flat minor. You can find anything.
So how do you
And
find your notes on a there's just little holes on there. How do you find your note?
there's probably a theory behind it, which I've never learned. I
Ah,
just know it instinctually now. I know where the notes are. I know where I need to go, and
yeah.
I don't have to think about it. And
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
I was out at Uncle Fuzzy's one day, one afternoon on a Saturday where he holds his jams. And you got up
right.
and you were playing the harmonica to my songs, and it sounded really good. I was like, wow, I'm impressed.
It's
So,
fun. Could be my favorite instrument for sure.
What was that?
It could
What?
be my favorite instrument. You
It
know, if
could
I
be
had
your
my favorite instrument to play, if I could only play one thing, I might
that would
resort
be
to rock.
what you want to do. No. And also, I mean, knew your wife was a singer, but I didn't know that you guys sang together. That was something I learned through the bio that you sent.
Yeah, we're really, really enjoying writing and playing music together for sure.
Yeah. How so? Did you always play together, or was that something that you taught her? Or she taught
She's,
you? I just says you
well, she's
never know.
always dabbled in singing at different times in her life. Um, but yeah, when we got together, I think she decided that if she was going to spend any time with me at all, she better start, you know, getting more involved in the whole music scene.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's how we started too. He was doing sound and promotions. He promoted bands for getting bands for Boeing. And when I met him, um, so he did those two things. Eventually, he got more proficient with the sound after we joined a production company called Rhinos. And yeah, if you aren't both in it, it can get pretty tricky.
Right.
So you probably can't see those messages, but I did get a message. Jeff Crookall. I mean, Jeff Crookall. Hello. I got you on my brain. Chase Crawford said hello. And
Ah,
and Rosie, oh, Rose Smith, most people know her by Rose Smith or Rosie. She's also online saying hello here.
well, hello back.
So I'll be probably interrupting you every now and then with people if they're on and they ask questions. But so do
Yeah.
we have two listeners today, thank goodness. And thanks, guys, for joining us.
All right.
Um,
We haven't skunked yet. That's great.
Yeah, I haven't had people on here for a while. I had a guy 2 weeks ago. I had to I had to cancel last week. I couldn't talk. All I did was cough. But he was from Australia, and
Oh,
I took him on because I wanted to find out, if there's a lot of difference in the music business in a different country. I mean, I've had a band from actually two people from another Ace comes on here every now and then, and he's a rock and roller, and yeah, there's a band from Vancouver area, and I wanted to find out for them, and then they told me about difference in Australia, so I thought about that too, and I thought, wouldn't it be interesting to get the perspective of somebody who's struggling after COVID to get back into the music like we all were and have
okay.
been and still are. And there's not much of a difference, to tell you the truth.
No, I wouldn't imagine there'd be a huge difference.
No,
Yeah.
yeah. It's they seem a little bit harder in Australia to connect because we're lucky here in the greater Seattle area and further south because we have all these jam and open mics around. And,
Right.
this is just a city of music. This whole area is, and some of the greats have come out of here. And yeah, so hey, I did find out, and there's not a whole lot of difference. Now, you play guitar with me. I know that you play a more advanced rhythm guitar, and you have a little bit of lead going on there too. So when did you pick up the guitar?
I picked up the guitar, I guess, when I was 24 years old, and my previous wife was pregnant. I
Ah,
picked up the guitar, and yeah, it took, having a child and then another child. It seems like it took a good 8 years or so before I really had time to put into it.
right.
Um, Life was quite busy, raising a couple kids and
Yeah, yeah.
work,
I
work.
had,
But yeah,
I did it.
so I picked up. Then maybe when I was 35 and had more time, I started playing with some friends, and started playing a lot more regularly. And,
Mhm.
and yeah, and these days I guess, I probably only pick the guitar up 2 or 3 times a week, but
Really?
that's not bad. Yeah.
So when you're playing the harmonica, are you thinking, are you hearing a sound that you understand as a note, or do you see the notes in your head? I mean, what are you
I get,
visualizing?
I'm visualizing a melody uh, or an alternative melody to the song.
Ah,
Typically any song that's being played, you can hear the melody, or you've heard it because the person has sung it already.
yeah.
Um, and
I would.
yeah, like
I would.
there, it's just at this point, it's just instinctual. It's almost like I'm singing.
Yeah. Ah, for
Um,
heaven's sake. Yeah.
when
I.
you're not really hunting for notes. You just go where you need to
Right.
go.
Right.
And the harmonica is the same way. It just goes where it needs to go.
Ah. Well, there's a point in when I'm learning a new song on the guitar, I'm seeing the chords. I see the chords and,
Uh,
and I hear them, but eventually, as I practice, it becomes automatic. But I actually
right.
have to see the chords, memorize the chords, and sync it with the singing to get it. And I understand from my music teachers, Chad Christ is also my music instructor. Um, they try to teach me these these different things, and they want me to visualize the notes on the neck of the guitar, and I'm like, I played
Yeah.
piano before this. I know how to play that on the keyboard, but I don't get that no, on the neck of a guitar. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So
Well,
chords are what I go.
I mean, I certainly know a lot of chords and different ways of playing chords and where they live on the neck, but I'm not very proficient at the actual notes on the neck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me neither. Much to the behest of these people trying to teach me.
Yeah. You know, to each our own. Whatever
Yeah,
works, basically in music, whatever works.
you're right. So you're a songwriter as well, correct?
I've written a few, not a whole lot, but I've written a few. Um, I've written a lot more music to songs. Because Kim, my wife has she's probably up to about 50 songs that she's written,
Wow.
and I've probably put music to 30 or so of those.
Wow.
Um, so I've put a lot of music, come up with the arrangements, so to speak.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I've written my own songs. Typically, very seldom I try to sit down and write. Now and then I do, but typically, you're walking across the room and something will come, and I'll have no choice. But put it down, start writing it down. I love it happens.
Yeah, I hear a phrase like, um, I'm not even sure where I got it from. I'm working on a song right now called The Devil on My Shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even know where that came from. I mean, I don't even know where I heard it. And so
Well,
I
that,
can't,
that's a constant, isn't it? I mean, don't we
yeah,
all have the devil on our shoulder? It's,
yeah,
pretty much.
yeah. And And as I was coming home, I didn't have anything to write or record with because I was driving, right? And I
Right.
don't want to mess with my phone while I'm driving. It's illegal for one thing, and I'm not that competent to do 14 things in the car at once.
Right.
And I had to keep repeating this verse that came in my head. And I repeated it all the way from Milton back to Redmond. And then as minute I got in the door, I said, hi, sat down, grabbed a pen and paper and wrote it down. And
Nice.
that it just came from there. But yeah, you said songwriting for everybody seems to be different. But I
Yeah.
think the people that have a slight advantage are the lead players who hear that, they're picking out each one of those notes and they can. And so I think it's a little easier for them. I don't know, maybe I'm full of beans, but it just would seem to me that it is.
Yeah. There's a lot of different ways people. There's a lot of people that sit down and say, I'm going to write a song. And they
Right.
sit just kick out ideas until something works.
Yeah. I got to write a song coming up. I've been working on it in my mind for a long time. And Chatem Cherie is the name of the song. But I think there are other songs with that title. And I'm trying to get a little gal I think you know. Right now, I can't think of her name. She's that little ukulele player. Crying out loud. I got a mental block here. I can't think of her name. Anyway, she sings in French as well. You've probably heard her over at the jam at Maltby.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Jessica.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah. And she's going to sing the French part of the song. Now, I've got the basic idea and structure of the song, but I have to sit down and actually write the words where they make sense and where I can actually put them into a certain, structure.
Right.
Like verse, chorus, whatever. And I don't know. Sometimes it just comes to me, and sometimes I really got to work at it.
Yeah.
But I can't do 2 songs at once. I got to do one at a time. I should have your wife on here. I'm sorry, but Jeff, I don't know her name. I'm sorry, but I know you told me, but I don't know what it is. Can you tell me again?
Kim Dietz.
Kim?
Yeah, Kim.
Kim. Okay.
Yeah.
So what kind of music does she write? What genre would you put it in?
Well, I don't know. And sometimes it changes what she thinks she's writing, when I get a hold of it and start putting music to it.
Right.
But she's certainly written stuff intended to be bluegrass, or folk, and more rock, blues. Yeah, she's really all over the map.
All of them. Yeah. Well, there are some songs that I can sit down and the melody's already there. Like Devil on My Shoulder. I heard there's a little gal. I sing that song, Suds in the Bucket by Sarah Evans. You've played it with me.
Mm-hmm.
And she did a song that, I can't remember. Merle Haggard, I think. I'm not really sure who did it. Tiger by the Tail. Did you ever hear, I've got a tiger by the tail, it's plain to see? Did you ever hear that one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I heard that, and she actually brought that into updated it so that it was today's country music. And it's still basically the same song, same words, whatever, but the beat and everything else is a little more advanced. And that song stuck with me. And that's what I was hearing in my head. I was writing The Devil on My Shoulder. That was the song that was kind of playing in the background. Okay. So I was able to get the chords out. But other times I have to get other people to help with it because I have no clue. Yeah. He's Rose. She said, I love it. She's making comments on here as we're talking. And now when you write, what would you put your music down as?
Americana is a great broad term. Yeah, it covers, country-ish, bluegrass-ish, folk-ish.
Yeah.
Great rock, blues, yeah. I guess I got a couple that, you start incorporating some jazz chords and it gets a little jazzy. So, yeah.
Now, jazz does not go, the jazz, I like listening to some jazz. I mean, I'm going to say I like a lot of music, and of course, the classics were all forced on me because I started early age playing the piano in classics. So, but jazz has escaped me, and it's got a different mode. I mean, every song has a certain mode, and I just water over there. I don't know, just goes by, and I can't catch it. Yeah. I've never played a jazz song in my life. Wouldn't even know how. And I had this lead. Don't know if you know him. Pardon?
My jazz stuff wouldn't really be, I mean, and incorporate some
classic
what
jazz.
one refers to as jazz chords.
Yeah.
But
I got you.
not very jazzy.
I
Although
had it.
I was in a great band, and we definitely improvised a lot, which is, the backbone to a good jazz group is how well they can improvise. And when I was in the Reclamation Project, we
What is the hang on to that thought? But what was what is that? The Reclamation Project?
Reclamation Project, a band fronted by Patrick Thayer, who used to live in Snohomish and now lives in Missouri. Myself, Dino Rapley, and Rod Ashton.
Yeah, no, Dino.
We played a lot of Patrick songs. We played some of my songs, and then we played a lot of Grateful Dead covers.
Okay.
So yeah, and it just sometimes, the chemistry is right. We could, as a group, we could just go off. It didn't, we could just, wherever the song went, it went. It didn't have to rehearse ahead of time. Nobody needed to know where it was going or where it was going to end up. We all just hung together and followed each other's leads, and that was wonderful.
Yeah.
It's
That's
nice.
called improv, right?
Yeah.
So that was bringing something to mind I was going to ask you about is, when you started the guitar, you were already married and you had one child and one child on the way, correct? When you picked up that guitar? And did you do anything? I mean, it took you you said 8 years you were messing with trying to off and on kind of play it type thing. Did you play out yet, or were you, when you did play out, were you playing out with the harmonica?
Yeah, there was times I'd play with some friends that were much better than I was, and I would join them on the harmonica.
Yeah.
But as far as playing guitar out by myself or with a group, that took a while. Took a long time.
Well, I found the best way to do it was just to dive in, and so I'd go to these jams, and I'd just play whatever. And
right.
The more I played, the better it got. And then it took an awful long time to get seaworthy, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's not something, for me at least, it doesn't come easy. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, at this point, it's pretty easy for me to jump in. But yeah, it was, a rough road like anyone. But that brings up, as an open mic host, which I've done now for at least 20 years.
Wow. No wonder you're so good at it.
It's been really fun to watch someone come in who's just, a nervous wreck, really just struggling to get through a song, and just watch them progress to the point where, they come in, they're basically a band leader. They're asking 3 or 4 people up, they're leading the song, and they're doing great. Watching that progression is a lot of fun and very rewarding.
Yes. Well, 20 years ago, the sound wasn't as good as it is today. I mean, today with all of the equipment we have to work with, it makes a big difference. So when I go to a jam, I listen to sound is everything as far as I'm concerned. If I can't hear it and it's not keyed in right, I don't want to sing on it because it can be a real downer. And you have that knack. You really know how to set your sound, and it's fun to go to your jams. And what's even more fun is how you play. You never try to play over or lead the singer. You play with the singer, and you seem to anticipate where to go from there. It's called, again, that improv thing you were talking about. And so they're fun. I can't get to all of them, but the few that I've gotten to, I've really enjoyed.
Yeah, certainly one of the key parts of my music philosophy is that one should listen much more than one should play. Doesn't mean you stop playing, but you damn well better be listening to the other members of the band so you don't play too much. Right. And you got to know when to shut up. You know.
Right. That was our biggest thing when we first started out with the band, and we were getting players in, and they would. It's like a train station. You've had a band, I'm sure. Where they come and they go, and so you're always learning new music, and the steel players used to drive me absolutely crazy because they never knew when to stop playing. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
I think
know,
we struggle with that.
yeah. Well, leads are going to play. You know that they're not going to stop playing. They're going to do whatever they're going to do.
Well, the right ones, the right ones. I certainly,
Yeah.
I play with this Jim Collins. I don't know if you know him. I play with him now and then.
What's his last name?
Jim Collins.
Collins. No, I don't know him.
He's been out to the Duval open mic.
Ah,
but
sure.
he's got back. He can really back away, and when it's time for a lead, he comes in there nicely.
Is that the guy that played lead for me when I was out there?
Probably.
Yeah. Okay. I thought his name is Jim, but I guess you said,
Yeah.
I mean, Bill, and his name is Jim. Okay. Is there a Bill that plays out there lead with you?
There is a Bill, and so he might have been out there.
I don't know which one you're talking about, but if I saw him. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like the guy that played lead with me. I think you were playing as well. And yeah, he didn't play too much. He knew when to add and when not to.
Right.
Yeah. Well, not the second thing I noticed about your jams, and everybody that holds jams are different, but in your case, your jams are quieter. Uh, not all the it's not full force rock and roll kind of thing. It's more laid back and melodious. I don't want to say melodious, but I think that's the word. It just has more to it. That when the players come up and they're not worried about all these other things going on around them. Yeah, it just you can really hear what they're doing and see the progress. Yeah. So I highly recommend if you see any of his jams, we're going to get to that later on, but if you ever go to one of his jams, do listen for those things. I think you'll enjoy it. And you got some people that come in there and and you never see them anywhere else. I mean, they're great players and singers, but they don't go out and do it. They just come to a jam.
There's a lot of musicians hiding out there.
Yeah, they are. Come forward. Anyway, to give a little bit past this, how many bands would you say that you've been in your lifetime since you started? And over what period of time?
First band was in Bellingham. Really just friends goofing around, but we called ourselves the Critters.
The what?
And the Critters.
Critters?
Yeah.
Cool.
And we'd play social gatherings mostly, parties. And I was in a band in Lake Goodwind called Blue Rose, and that was basically a rock and roll cover band for the most part.
You played rock and roll? Cool. What kind of rock and roll? 70s and 80s and 80s and 90s? Or?
It was pretty much 70s and 80s. This stuff I really try to avoid these days.
Can get a little loud.
Yeah.
A lot of hand here.
Enough of that was, I've had enough. And then I was the first band that Kim and I started. We gathered up a couple friends and did a couple shows. We were the Bouncing Love Monkeys.
Love Monkeys? Okay.
Bouncing Love Monkeys. Then I would put together a group locally and do different things under the name of Gutter Splash.
Gutter Splash.
Gutter Splash. I love that band.
You have some creative band names.
Yeah. And then I've been in Her Etc., which is basically Kim's band. We did a bunch of shows over a few years, and we've disbanded. She has disbanded the band, and now we're just a duo.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think there are a lot of places to do duo things
Yeah,
because of the wineries, and they don't want that noise. They don't want the big band sounds.
and with a duo,
And
you can pick up a guest player,
yeah,
for sure.
yeah, cool. Yeah. So, when did you get into your recording? I mean, building a studio. How did that all come about? How did that happen in your life?
Well, I was a home builder, a contractor. Um, that's how I was making a living
Yeah.
up to the age of 40. And both my elbows just gave out.
Uh,
Tendonitis. I
yeah.
really couldn't get much work done. So I went to school for audio engineering, which was something, I dabbled in, with tape recorders, etc. for a while. I had a real strong interest in it. Went to Shoreline Community College for 2 years.
Yeah.
A couple of associate degrees, and got an internship at Triad Studio in Redmond.
Yeah. I heard about that. I never saw it, but I've heard about there was a studio there.
Great studio.
Here.
It's no longer there. It went
Yeah.
to have good studios, but they hired me on, so I got to engineer there, learned a ton, and and then we sold it, and that was the end of that studio. For a little while, I moved with one of the engineers to Rogue Studio in the old Rainier building. Then that shut down. And about that time, Kim and I bought this house, and I threw a second story on it and started building the studio.
Oh,
So
cool.
I guess I've been recording now for about 25 years.
25 years. Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
What kind of equipment are you using there? And have you gotten into AI yet?
No, I'm going to avoid AI as far as studio goes. I guess it doesn't fit with what I only do local musicians for one, and the type of music that tends to come in here. It's just down home real music, So I don't foresee a real need for AI.
Mm-hmm.
I use, everybody's using a DAW, digital audio workstation. My software is Sonar. That's a cakewalk product. I've got a I got a rack full of preamps. I've got a closet full of nice microphones. And I've got the plugins that everybody has in the digital audio workstation. I've got a nice sounding room. I've got everything plus what a person needs.
And James said, real musicians, real music.
Right.
I don't know what you mean by that, James, but I think my music is kind of real. Not quite that real. Yeah. I was, I don't know about what your people do when they're recording, but when I record, and Chad's a perfectionist, and so I have to go over and over the same stuff a number of times until he thinks it's right and I feel like it's right. It's what I want. But now he's got this AI system, and it takes, and your timing might be just a tad off, or the music gets a little ahead of you or a little behind you, and he can fix that with AI. Like, it just take click, click, and what I used to take a long time doing by going over and over until I got it right. Now he can fix that like boom. But the problem is it starts sounding too clean.
Yeah. Yeah.
Start getting
There's
away from real again. Yeah.
there's a lot of plugins to help align stuff, etc.
Yeah.
And that have been around for a while, probably before the AI term started being used so much. But like you say, if you can correct things too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot to be said for a little imperfection.
Yeah. That's what Lynn Sorensen said. Do you know Lynn Sorensen? He's a
Maybe.
bass player. Yeah, he used to play for Bad Company from 1999. Paul Rogers, Bad Company, until I think he said 2012. But anyway, he has that same philosophy as that, you know, there's a big difference between a recording and real music that's live.
Yeah.
You're never gonna get the same thing, the same quality.
Right.
And you're gonna come close, but not the same. Yeah. So, um, where are you with the progress of where you're at? What kind of what do you use? Do you use Pro Tools, or have you got a different program?
Sonar is the program I use.
Is that an older one, or is that?
It's fairly old now. There's probably newer versions than the one I have. And it's a Cakewalk product, and Cakewalk's been around forever, and they're still around. I haven't upgraded my software in a really long time.
If it works,
fine,
not broke, don't fix it.
They all do the same stuff.
Yeah.
They have different menu bars, where different things live, but they all do exactly the same stuff.
Right.
Push record, and you edit. So it's really, people ask me what I use all the time, and I just don't think it's important. What's important is a good performer, a good performance, a quality mic, and a quality preamp. So you can capture the good performer having a good performance. And then once it's into ones and zeros in the computer, it doesn't matter what program you're using, push that stuff around. It's being able to capture a good performance with good quality equipment.
Yeah. Well, all I know is that when I sing in a studio, and the mic that he uses, and the headset I have on, so I can hear every nuance and everything that's going on, is the kind. How can I say this? I look for that in jams to a certain extent, because I'm used to hearing it that way, and that clarity, that ability to hear enough with enough clarity in it to sing the song right. Otherwise, I can't control my voice. If I can't hear, I don't know how to get it all together, if you know what I mean. And I gotta,
which is
go ahead.
It's pretty hard to find in a jam.
Yes, it is.
Most professional bands these days have that, because they're now all have quality in-ear monitors, and they're hearing things really nice.
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes it so much easier to perform. And when I go to some of these places that don't have that, it's just really irritating. I don't go back. I don't need that kind of stuff. But yeah, I got a comment here about what we were talking about. And I can see that there is a controversy, and James brought that up. James Crawford says there is a big controversy in the music industry about these kinds of issues, like, what equipment are you using and what are you doing with it? How are you using it? And then the introduction of AI, which makes it a lot easier to move music around to get it where you need it.
Yeah.
So from watching what I first started watching during COVID, was a young man called Lyle. Oh no, I can't think. Wrongling. And he was using some older version of Pro Tools, and he was showing it on his podcast as he was casting. He was showing the production of his songs, and eventually now he's made them into records, whatever. But they progressed considerably over these years. And I was really intent watching all that, and not many people would watch it, but I was watching it because I wanted to see what he was doing. And all looked really complicated to me. But then when I got into the studio and I saw Chad doing it, I began to have an understanding of what you guys are actually doing. And it's like learning how to juggle an awful lot of balls in the air.
Yeah.
Listening to it and correcting it too. But it's fun. I mean, it's hard work, but I like it. It's fun, at least on the singer end of it or the musician end of it. So I don't know what it's like for you guys in that hot seat, but it looks like a lot of work.
It's 98% fun.
Yeah.
Things can go south and then it's no fun, but
yeah, I get it. So speaking of COVID, we kind of brought that up for a few minutes, but what was going on in your world when that was happening out there? For some musicians, it was, mind blowing because they had a lot of gigs, so they were just getting started and then they got shut down. What was happening in your world as a musician and as running your own studio?
Well, it's certainly several things happened. It shut down, hosting open mics and going to open mics and doing performances,
right?
In a live sense. But we got involved with a Zoom open mic that really seemed to take a community and that was semi tight knit anyway, and make it more tight knit. Yeah. Brought in some people that were not local that we got to meet and play with.
Yeah.
I miss that to an extent because it was unique. In a lot of ways, you didn't have to go out to open mic. You just sat here and played,
Yeah, exactly.
You could eat, It did this. COVID did this. It turned me into a raging alcoholic.
Wine. That looks like wine. Yeah. Well,
yeah,
that's...
Kim and I learned to drink cocktails during COVID.
Yeah, neither Kurt and I drink, so we have a hard time because, when we go somewhere, we want to spend money there because we know that income is what helps them hire the band, right? And so right. we're always battling our weight because we're eating the food rather than the drink. But yeah, I get it. When COVID hit, one of the things that happened to us was we had lost all the places that we went to jam. I was working for a volunteer band out of Awful, the senior volunteer band. And we were playing in retirement centers all over the place. Every Tuesday we played for almost a year and a half, I think, when I started. And that all got shut down. And then it was like I was either going to just sit here and do nothing, excuse me, or I was going to pick up my guitar and work my butt off. So I hired Ron Lang to help me. And then I went from him to Dave Nichols, who's a Southern country musician who's teaching me what they call cage style. And then he had the audacity to pass on me And he left this world. Big loss. And then I hired Chad to be my instructor. So that's what I did with my time. But trying to find music was like, we were going insane. And we actually came across through Runling, we came across these things online. Now, I never found yours, but I did find his. And there are a few others out there. Jessica Lynn Whitty is a country singer. We found hers, and they got me into singing. Otherwise, I never thought of that. So it's good to know that you were out. Sorry about that, but when I start to cough, I don't want to do it in public.
Understandable. Yeah. Well, it's good that you're on the mend, because you were down there. You were down sick for a couple of weeks, weren't you?
Yeah. Well, it was 2 weeks. First of all, it started just ordinary cold, we think, as Kurt got sick. And then I had a gig on the 27th, and I had Lynn Sorensen and a guy named Drew Schneider playing with me, and of course Doug McGrew. And we were at the Redmond Heights Senior Living. And I kept hoping I didn't get sick before that gig, right? And I didn't, but he got sick. He went back to work, I think, on the 4th day, but he's still coughing. And after that gig, on that Friday after, that was the 27th, so the 1st of November, I started getting sick. And it got so bad that I was actually strangling. I couldn't cough it up. I couldn't breathe. I was literally in my bathroom fighting to breathe. So I went to the emergency the very next day before, and this would only happen at certain times of night, like from 10:30 to about 2 o'clock in the mornings when it was the worst. I went to a clinic, and they found out that it moved into bronchitis because I was wheezing so loud everybody around me could hear it. And my asthma apparently gets triggered. So when my bronchial tubes get attacked, the asthma starts in, and it was the asthma attack that nearly wiped me out.
Wow.
So I got a bunch of medicine in me. This is on week 2. And that, by the time that I started taking the medication, the lights went out. It was cold in here. God, I thought I was going to die, but it worked. The medications worked, and now I just have this cough every now and then. It's like I was coughing almost every minute of the day before, and now it's like once in a while. So, but I hear other people are going through it, so they don't have the asthma, but apparently other musicians are catching it from each other.
Yeah. I still bring my own bike, and I think that's a good idea. I was surprised how fast that idea kind of drifted away. Right after COVID, we were all bringing our own mics.
Yeah.
And
even masks. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I don't see very many people bringing their own mic anymore.
We had a comment about your lava lamp.
Yes, I did have at least 1 or 2 visible.
That's it. What is? Can't really see it. Is it just a cone? Is that what it is in the background
there? Yeah, I mean, typical lava lamp. Yeah, the blue one.
Yeah,
I've
never had one.
I have 14 of them in the studio.
Oh my goodness! Oh. Well, I guess maybe to just tie up a loose end here, and James, what else do you see in there, James? That this whole idea of using your own mic, and if you're sick, not coming or wearing a mask, right. That's kind of disappearing into the distance. But when this goes around, I've been watching because I get all this information on who's jamming where. I'm supposed to be, I'd have to clone myself 14 times to get to all of them. And and these people are canceling, and they're saying they're sick or whatever. So apparently whatever it is going around. And then when I got to the doctor and they were looking at me trying to figure out what the heck was wrong with me, uh, the whooping cough is back. And
Yeah.
people are getting whooping cough, and they weren't sure whether I had whooping cough or not. Well, it turned out not to be that, but yeah, that's scary. Thought that was gone.
No, it's making a resurgence, and it's really really scary for young kids.
Yeah. So what have you got percolating now for where are your gigs? I know you have coming up on the 10th of December, I believe, is Grassie's in Duval.
William in Duval is currently the only open mic I'm hosting.
Okay.
Just once a month, second Friday. But it's a fun one, that's for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a quieter one, and you can really enjoy it. It's usually just one person. Yeah, it's not a whole lot of noise, so you can really hear what's going on. Yeah, good players come out there.
Yeah, I don't
What
have any,
happens?
him and I don't have any gigs on the books that I know of. So yeah, right now things are pretty quiet.
Yeah. There are a lot of working musicians out there that started right after COVID that, some I've interviewed. And, it took a bit for everything to get going, apparently. And it's still kind of sluggish right now. I don't know why. Whatever happened to the Flying Pig, if I may ask? That was a fun place to go. Scary. Scary area.
Yeah, I guess it could be. I felt fine there. Yeah, that was on the first Saturday of the month. It certainly was a fun room to play in. It could be a little noisy, but I managed to get a good sound in there.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, it's a tough business, the restaurant bar business.
Yeah, I wondered about that. There's not a whole lot there.
Yeah, just couldn't afford to, pay for the open mic anymore.
Yeah, I think that's the problem with a lot of these places, and a lot of stuff around here closed down. It came back to life. Some of them, but not many. A lot of businesses, the restaurants and so forth, closed down as well. Just now beginning to open, but it'll take time. I mean, that was kind of a big, I don't know,
I think the smaller
suppressed.
places seem to be doing better.
Yeah.
Right around the corner from Flying Pig, Port Gardner Bay Winery. They seem to be
I haven't been there yet.
They're doing okay. It seems like, where I do the open mic at William Grassi, I think it's small enough too, where you don't need 100 people in there. You get 20 people in there and you're full, and you don't have one employee. So I think places like that.
Yeah.
Speaking of James, who keeps messaging, you should be working. He runs the one at Crooked Label, and it's a nice small room.
And, James, yeah. I know him as Uncle Fuzzy, so that's what I usually call him. So
same guy.
Yeah.
Depends who's looking for him.
Yeah. He goes outside in the summer, and that's what I really like about his jam is that it's so beautiful. It's so pretty out there, and as the evening comes on.
Yeah, any place you get outside is great.
Yeah, it is. He runs a good jam in some sense. There's a few things he does I like to kick his butt for, but other than that, his sound, he changed his sound. We had to come inside. I can't remember what it was, just lately, and so he got. He's one of those people who get his equipment at sales and Goodwill, or wherever he could find sound equipment. He buys it. He bought it, and it was really flat. It was hard to sing on. But that was the first time he used it, and I'm sure by now he's figured it out. But that first night was kind of hair pulling.
Well, as far as sound equipment, I have a different philosophy than a lot of people, I'm sure. I I fell in love with the Bose systems, the little tower
Yeah. Yeah.
system. The first couple times I've heard those systems, I liked the idea. I liked a lot about it. So I started building my own. I started buying speakers from Goodwill. I've gone through a whole bunch and I'm set on a certain type of speaker that I look for and use now. Um, and I built a couple towers and a sub that I get also from a thrift store.
Uh-huh.
And I like it. I think my systems work good. I don't use monitors in front. I stick the speakers behind, so the performer is hearing exactly what the audience is hearing. And if you have multiple people playing, they're all hearing the same thing. You don't have one person that's getting guitar out of a monitor while the other person has no guitar, Yeah. And I love the systems I build, and I think it's the way to go. You can spend.
I don't know how you get it, but it's a clarity. It's that studio clarity.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it, but not many people out there know how to hit that sweet spot.
Well, the emphasis got to be on the vocal, and then everything else behind the vocal.
Yeah. Well, it works. Whatever it is, it works. So, it's already we were 56 minutes into this interview. Did
Wow.
you seem that it went that fast for you?
Zipped right by, yeah.
Yeah, it did. Sometimes when I get to talking on here, it's really hard to keep the ball rolling, and other times it just, man, it's over before you blink.
Yeah.
So we'll have to have you back, and I'd like to get your wife Kim on here too.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Think she'll do it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, good. Good. I'll be seeing on the 10th unless something else happens. And knock on wood. I intend to go out to Grassy's on the 10th. So anybody out there wants to go to good little jam, great sound, good players, go out to Grassy Winery, is it called?
Yeah, William Grassi Winery.
Grassi Winery. It's right by the Shell station in downtown Duval, so it's easy to find. Yeah, it's got a fairly decent parking area too, so there's plenty of places. Plus, you can bring your own food in there. Now they have appetizers and wine and drinks, but not hard liquor, but like, oh, I don't know, that can stuff that comes in a can. And you can bring, for the local restaurants in the area, you can bring in your food if you have, because it's right around, what's that, 6 to 9? Is that what it is? Or is it 5 to 8?
No, 6 to 8:39.
6 to 8:30, 9 o'clock. Yeah. So you can have your dinner there, and that's important to us because he comes home from work. We jump in the car, grab the guitar, and we're hungry.
Yeah.
So looking ahead in the future, and presumably we all have a future.
Yes.
What do you see yourself doing a couple years down the line? You and Kim.
Well, hopefully I'll still be running the studio, recording people, because I enjoy it, and it certainly is part of my income. And I see doing more and more stuff with Kim. Writing more songs, performing more as a duo.
Right.
And open to whatever comes.
That sounds like a plan. Sounds like a good plan. What is your philosophy about your audience? What do you get, or what do you feel or think about when you're performing? How do you know? How do you know that you're reaching people, or how do you respond to your audience?
I don't. I ignore my audience.
Oh, yeah, really?
It's it's how I learned to play, and I've never been able to change it. If my eyes are open and I'm looking at a chair leg or something, I really don't pay attention to the audience, especially if I have other people on stage playing with me. My focus is on the play.
What they're doing.
You know, I'm not just playing to the audience and hoping that they're keeping up. I'm really just paying attention to the people on stage. If the audience likes it, great. If they don't, there's nothing I can do about it.
Well, not everybody can do that. I see every little thing. I wish I didn't, but I see everything. That when we were at that Sunday gig on the 27th, and this lady came up. She had a little baby, and it was that retirement kid. We'd have every age. We had teenagers, we had younger people, we had older people, we had everybody. But this lady had a little baby, and she was out in the hallway dancing. So she grabbed her baby to put a tip in the tip jar. And I have this spittoon. I have this old spittoon. It's a Wells Fargo, a replica. And I used that as my tip jar, right? And I warned the people ahead of time that was a tip jar, not to spin in it. But anyway, she bent over to put with the baby to put the money in the tip jar, and everybody was looking, and they said, "Oh my gosh, you're gonna put the baby in the tip jar." And that's exactly what it looked like. Look, she was throwing the baby. Oh, it was crazy. But there are all kinds of things going on, and I was noticing all of them. And I have to sometimes stop myself because if I get too involved, then I forget my word. And then if I get off track, I got to get back on again. But yeah. And it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. But I think that for some of us, it's just normal to do that. I don't know how I connect. I just do. And so I feel these things and see these things when I'm singing. And the hardest thing is when they try to ignore you. They know that you're looking at them or they're embarrassed or whatever. And you can't help it. It's there. Anyway. So we know what you're going to be doing in the future. I'm already 2 minutes over. Can you believe it? I have to have you come back later on to see what you're going to do in the future, Jeff. I will ask Kim to come on the show when she's ready.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I will see you out there on the 10th at Grassie's, and I'm sure I'll run into you elsewhere.
Well, thank you very much for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.
One thing I remember before we close, so you're very welcome, and thank you for coming on. We appreciate it. I forgot to ask the name of your studio.
Oh, it is the Sleeping Bulldog Studio.
That's it, Sleeping Bulldog. Somehow I got this confused with Barking Frog. I don't know. That's a place over. Yeah, you know where it is, probably over by the chateau.
Right.
Yeah. So with that, I'm going to close. Next Monday we have, I don't know if you know her, but a young lady who's one heck of a good writer. She started out in Nashville, and her name is Sherry Roberts, which is my daughter's maiden name. Sherry Roberts Grimes. Yeah, she's been awarded many, many times with Singer Awards, and just recently, too. So if you get a chance to tune in next Monday at 2:00, do. In the meantime, Jeff, I'll be knocking on your back door.
Okay.
One of your jams. In the meantime, you have a great Thanksgiving. Everybody out there, you as well. See you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Jeff. Well, that's it, everybody. Like I said, tune in. Sherry Grimes will be on 2:00 next Monday. Have a great Thanksgiving week.